Sir, can you explain how you calculated your latest round of tariffs? Was there a formula that was used?
The formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years, and based on raw numbers. But they're based on very substantial facts and also past history. We never had anybody in the White House that understood the numbers.
When it comes to the latest declaration from the president in the United States, we have not yet seen an executive order. That being said, every single journalist in the country wants to have more information about the negotiations, and my answer is always the same. We will let the Prime Minister do the negotiation, and we will not negotiate in public.
So we started off with Donald Trump with some weird explanation on God knows what he was talking about there. And then that, of course, is Melanie Joly, who's now the industry minister, talking about tariffs and car tariffs, the auto sector tariffs, without really providing much of an answer either way. Look, James Mennie's on the line. Jim, do you have breaking news of some kind?
Breaking news on breaking tariff news, Aaron.
Breaking tariff news, okay.
It only happened 34 minutes ago, and it's so great that we have that clip of Donald J. Trump explaining his rationale, his logic behind how he figures out tariffs and who to impose them on. He announced earlier this afternoon, less than an hour ago, he's slapping a 50% tariff on additional tariffs on products from Brazil. The basis for this is he thinks that the way the Brazilian government is treating former President Jair Bolsonaro is disgraceful, and it's a witch hunt. For those of our listeners who do not follow Brazilian news that closely, Mr. Bolsonaro faces criminal charges in Brazil for having criminally conspired during the last election to stay in power no matter what the outcome was. And it's kind of funny because when I heard that, I had to sense a deja vu, Aaron, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It's like a story you and I have talked about in the past. But anyway, that's the rationale. And all that on another Taco Trump deadline, July 9th, which has now been amended. Now the tariffs are going to go into effect on August 1st, unless, of course, they go into effect on August 15th or maybe September 77th. We don't know. But when I hear Melanie Joly in that clip saying we're not going to negotiate in public and it's the PM who's going to negotiate, that's simply because nobody knows what the hell is going on south of the border. Nobody knows what Donald Trump is going to wake up in the morning and what nonsense he's going to spew about tariff policy. So yeah, it's going to be an uphill climb, and we can keep our elbows up all we want. But the fact of the matter is, this guy is clearly. How can I put it? He's non-compos mentis, and who knows what's going to happen, Aaron? I mean, honest to God, really, by the end of the week, he might be declaring war on Samoa. So listen, it's just nuts. In the meantime, Mark Carney, and this is what gets me because everyone's looking at tariffs, and it's like I remember a time when my business could walk and chew gum at the same time. Everyone's looking at tariffs, although it seems now that Mark Carney, without much ado, is basically trying to chainsaw his way through the 40% increase in civil servants that occurred under Justin Trudeau. He is across the board reviewing all ministries, reviewing all regulations, trying to bring some sense to what was really an open tap on spending for the past decade. So to a certain extent, yeah, there's hopefully good news for Canadian taxpayers. It's also bad news for the Conservatives because he's stealing a march on them. This is the kind of thing that they complain about. He's obviously acting on it. And the fact that he's doing so in such a nonchalant manner means clearly when he won the election, he must have been horrified to find out just how much Trudeau had screwed up the nation's finances. And I guess he's in major damage control. So I would respectfully submit that as annoying and irritating and distracting Donald Trump is right now, I think Mark Carney's busy in the pump room trying to keep the ship afloat.
By the way, Jim, thank you for using Latin. We don't hear it often enough here on the show.
Yeah, I know.
I appreciate that. I will point a couple of things out here. Number one, what you just said off the top, I want people to just understand this. Donald Trump is threatening to impose tariffs on Brazil, not about trade, but by virtue of the fact he did not like how their former president was treated. Is that correct?
Yeah, because he's facing criminal charges.
Right.
Jair Bolsonaro is alleged to have criminally conspired to remain in power in the 2022 election, no matter what the outcome was.
Right.
He was going to, stay on as president. And that didn't work out for him. And now he's facing charges. Yeah. So now, and that outrages Donald Trump, who has slapped this 50% tariff on the country of Brazil.
Right.
Okay? Not an individual, not an ideology, not a political party. The whole country. Donald Trump is doing Brazil. The whole thing. So, and who knows what he will do tomorrow.
Okay. By the way, the one other thing I heard today, this came across, I think, in one of his press briefings, beyond copper, which was 50% yesterday, right? He announced that, although, as Melanie Joly said, there's no executive order that's been signed yet. Yeah. Then he talked about pharmaceuticals out of nowhere, which again would affect Canada, right? He said up to 200%.
Absolutely. And I think as distressing as these ravings are for people on this side of the border, you can bet the pharmaceutical companies in the U.S. were not exactly happy to hear this either. They hear that their entire retail operation is going to be subjected. And remember, right? These Americans, this is what gets me about Americans, Aaron. They like to spout off, you people are socialists. You people, your government controls everything. Here's the President of the United States, just by signing executive orders, bypassing Congress, is essentially trying to dictate the entirety of the country's economic policy. Okay? There's no middleman. There's just him. Does it work? Who knows? We'll see what happens. Doesn't seem to be working so far, but yeah. As I say, more of the same. The lunacy is continuing, and I cannot overstate how unprecedented and how unpredictable and how absolutely lunatic this entire approach is by the White House. And I know, just by talking to you right now, Aaron, the fanboys are going to send you texts. Art of the deal. Yeah, art of the deal on the planet Mars. Okay? That's enough.
Non compos mentis. All right, let me get to what's going on or what happened at the CAQ today. So if you're keeping score, this is 2 CEOs and 1 minister. Today, the newest guy, 2023 is when he took over, Eric Ducharme. He's no longer the head of the SAAQ. Jim, what's the point here exactly?
The point here, I think that there's a very, very big message being sent out with this, is that, and both Premier Legault and Transport Minister Geneviève Guilbeault were repeatedly asked, do you believe, does this guy have your confidence as CEO of the SAAQ? And they didn't say yes. They didn't complain, but they didn't say yes, and which was significant in itself. But I'm getting the impression, given the stuff that's coming up in the Gallon inquiry into the SAAQ fiasco, which is $500 million for now, we know it's $500 million over budget and simply didn't work. I'm really getting the impression, Aaron, that today's announcement is, metaphorically speaking, this is Francois Legault running his thumb along the edge of his headsman's axe, saying, shape up or believe me, you will ship out. And it also dovetails very nicely with his announced vague but very broad promise of a cabinet shuffle this fall. In other words, I'll be watching you guys, and you better give me an excuse. You better give me a reason to keep you on. He knows he's in trouble. He knows the CAQ is in trouble. If he does not turn this around, he's driving straight off the cliff. There's absolutely no chance. And that said, don't forget, August 11th, the opposition's complaining, no one's going to notice. I think everyone's going to notice, and that's why they're so freaking out over at the CAQ. But, I would respectfully submit that they are not perceived to be the front runners in that by-election. And if they go down again, and this is riding the CAQ incumbent, one with a double-digit majority, how things have changed. It really is fin de régime. And unless he pulls not just a rat, unless this guy pulls an elephant, a herd of elephants out of his hat, Aaron, it's going to be game over for the CAQ. So I guess my take on this, he's sending out the message. This is it. As we like to say in sports, there is no tomorrow, so you better produce.
By the way, we've talked about this before. Whenever this has come up, you still have Geneviève Guilbeault hanging on to her seat. You're not thinking that's going to be the next axe to fall here, do you?
Oh, you know what? There's part of me that would say, if you look at her track record, I don't see any reason for her I wouldn't perceive her as an invaluable asset to the cabinet. Mm-hmm. But that said, chum stand chum, and Francois Legault is renowned for his loyalty to those that he's friends with, and he's buds with Geneviève Guilbeault. Okay. So there you go. I don't see her leaving. But something's got to give. And I think today was the message that nobody better spend the summer sleeping on both their ears and thinking they're safe.
Yeah, maybe don't answer your phone at all when he calls. James Mennie over at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.